What's your best or funniest example of petty revenge?
My wife left after I had a health issue, so she could enjoy her life.
I recovered, joined a gym, joined a whip dancing club, and got out with friends at least 4 nights a week, took my grown kids out fishing on the weekends, dated some, but more importantly made a lot of lady friends. That really helped raise my self-worth. 11 years later, I married a fantastic woman who makes my life wonderful.
We've been together for almost 30 years now, and she told me
she owes my ex a debt of gratitude for making me available. My ex quickly married a bar hookup who refused to work, and she had to support them both. She's still unhappy with her life. So as far as I'm concerned, the best revenge is to forget they even exist and enjoy your life. You young'uns here might not believe it, but back in the early 90s, supermarket cashiers had to type every price in by hand. I was at a Vons in San Diego, walking toward the only open check stand, with a single bottle of soda in my hand. Suddenly, this hoity-toity lady with a cart stacked to the top flew out of one of the aisles like a freight train and cut me off. "I'm in a hurry," she said, then looked away like she was annoyed that I'd been born. I looked at the cashier. He rolled his eyes and got to work. 5 minutes later, she's walking out the door, and it's my turn. "You're good," says the cashier. I put "your soda" on her tag. Damn, that felt good. I used to deliver pizza for Domino's. It was my last shift, and there was this house that was always rude. I called to ask what the house looked like and they said, "I gave you the address," and hung up, never tipped, etc. I got to their house, and they gave me a check for 1 cent less than what the total was. I said, "I am going to need the extra penny." They grumbled off and took their time hoping I would give up, but I just sat there holding the pizza. They finally came back all pissed off and gave me the penny. Note that they had no intention of tipping. They gave me the penny, and I chucked it out into the street and left. They saw me do it. It was satisfying. I lived in an apartment with a roommate. We had neighbors who would throw crazy parties pretty frequently, oftentimes during the week. One day, my roommate, who had to be awake early, had enough and decided to piss on a metal pizza pan and stick it in the freezer. After a crazy party, he pulled the pan out and flipped it upside down, giving him a frozen disc of piss. He then slid that disc under their door, where it would melt on their fully carpeted entryway. Woke up to them shouting at the people who crashed thereabout, who pissed on the floor, what the fuck was wrong with them. Wish I could say they toned down their parties, but they didn't, and eventually got evicted. My college roommate had a bad habit of leaving her things in piles on our bathroom floor, until there was almost no space to walk to the bathroom or toilet. Not just clothes but change, jewelry, decks of playing cards, knitting needles, books, hairpins, scarves, earbud headphones, keys, etc. One day, she left $40 scattered with the mess, so I put the money in one of her lesser's bathroom drawers. Originally I put it there to protect it from our third roommate and her friends. When I came home the next day and noticed that she was clearing her mess in an effort to find it, I decided not to tell her where the money was until our bathroom floor was spotless. Afterward, I decided it would be too awkward to tell her the truth, so I left the money wadded up in her hamper, as I had found it on the floor. She was ecstatic when she found it on laundry day. After that, her bathroom piles never got quite as big. There's a new truck in my apartment's parking lot. Always taking up multiple spots, always. Weird angles, close to the stairs, all over the place. No assigned parking. Unfortunately, months of this. I drive a much smaller car than that, and I'm petty, passive-aggressive. I've been waiting for my chance A few days ago was my shot. I got home quite late, and there were 0 spots open in my lot. The big truck is double parked again, but there's just enough room on their driver's side for me to sneak in there with my little clown car. I carefully pull in, making sure not to touch anything. No damage, no nothing. My passenger side mirror is half an inch from their driver's side door. I giggled to myself all the way back to my apartment and set an alarm and waited. The following morning, I woke up before the alarm to a loud door slamming and stomping around. I check out my window, and I see the double parking culprit walking around both vehicles, taking pictures, texting someone, and taking more pictures. I'm shaking with glee. They then swallow their pride, let out a visual sigh, and climb in the passenger side, clamber over the center console, and Austin Powers 20-point turn their butts out of the spot. I've never been so proud of myself and my shitty, petty, passive-aggressive ways. Had someone park in my assigned covered space at midnight on a Saturday. This has happened more than once. One time, I called the management to have them towed. Management tells me they don't tow anymore, because the management would have to pay, because it was private property. So, tough shit. I parked behind them and blocked them in. There was a block wall in front. I left the neighbors each a note on their door, letting them know if they needed to leave, knock on my door. At 10 a.m., frantic pounding on my door, me in pajamas, some girl hysterical that she had to go to work and was going to lose her job. I asked her if she knew it was reserved parking. She said yes. It was midnight, and there were no other parking spaces, and she didn't want to street park and walk because it wasn't safe. I asked her why she was okay with making me park on the street and walk after midnight. She told me she was going to have me towed. I laughed and went back to bed. Management calls to tell me I am blocking someone in, and if I don't move, they will have me towed. I relate conversation from middle of the night, the tough part, and tell them if they tow me instead of the violator in my spot, I am going to sue them for failing to enforce the rules, endangering my safety, because the reason I parked that way was because it was after midnight, and everyone knows it is not safe to park on the street and walk. I offer to wait for the tow truck and then move, so they can tow the parking violator. Management tells the girl, tough shit. She's back pounding on my door and screaming. People are now calling management about lunatics trying to break into someone's apartment. The guy she banged the night before shows up at my door. The girl is at the bottom of the stairs crying so hard she has the hiccups. Guy apologizes profusely, said he didn't know she parked in my spot, and that the management was threatening to evict him. He had other run-ins. He apologized again and offered me money for my trouble. I told him that wasn't necessary. I was just waiting for the girl to apologize. He nodded, went downstairs, yelled at her, and pointed up at me. She came upstairs and apologized, and I moved my car. When I was a kid, I got the Sabrina the Teenage Witch handbook. It was full of kiddie experiences and stuff, and was pretty fun. My older sister had upset or annoyed me about something, so I tried out one of the tricks from the book. You fill a cup with water and some corn kernels. Put some tin foil on top of the cup. The kernels eventually pop, and it makes noise against the tin foil. I put it under her bed. It takes a few days to work, so I completely forgot about it, until one night. I woke up to my two sisters whispering. It had popped in the middle of the night, and she thought there was a rat under her bed. I had a guy in school who would always skip class and then ask for my notes. We had a group project worth almost 40% of our grade, and he did zero work, and the professor told me tough luck. Instead of just saying no the next time he asked for notes, I took the low road and began giving him edited versions. I would leave items out of lists, incorrectly define things, or just straight up write stuff that makes no sense. An example of the crap I would put in: to calculate return on investment, subtract your yearly earnings from your current bank balance, then multiply by Escher's factorial, 4.22. If he had even once bothered to crack the text, he would have figured it out. But that apparently would have been too much effort for him. He retook that class. Okay, this is not easy to understand. So let me explain first something about Chinese, Shanghai culture. Old Chinese think that it's really shameful to have a son near 30, who is still not married, cause it means that you are not a good parent for not having found a good bride for your son, or you are too poor to afford a marriage, or your son is ugly. People won't care if someone doesn't want to have a family or what. Anyway, they are going to speak ill about you and your family. The pressure is pretty high and everyone tends to want a grandchild, better, if male, as soon as possible. My mother got sick 5 years ago in China. We are immigrants, so she doesn't have insurance there. Her treatment went more than 30,000 and we went broke. Since her aunts and uncles still owed her some money, she asked back some. But guess what? They denied it and let her sick and wait for death, cause they don't need the friendship of someone broken. I have to quit school and work to help her, and that was the reason for my poor English. After 4 years, she was cured and I got myself a family, had 2 sons, and bought a house with the help of my in-laws' business. Everything turns out just fine. Last year, I took my sons to China and went to visit all of them as the tradition says, and they gave me the red pocket money for my sons with a sour face, and I asked my mom why. She told me that our aunt and uncle's sons still are single, all of them, and I have not one but 2 children. I spend the whole night pointing out how wonderful to have children. Sorry, not a funny story. Edit. I am a girl. I mentioned son because the cousins are male. My first language is Italian. I was born there. I am not a winner because I didn't even know about my mother suffering or my relatives selfish. I was lucky and hard-working, so it was easy for me to work in restaurants and send money for my mom's hospital bills, huge in China, but okay with Europe earning. Then I met my husband, and we managed to earn good money. This happened to my significant other when he was at university. His class was doing presentations in pairs, and he got paired with some girl who didn't bother to bring notes or research information for their presentation. She instead let him do all the work, and any slides she did were made from his notes and research. He complained to his tutor, and she told him, "Don't worry, leave it to me." And then the day of the presentation comes, they present, and then at the end, the tutor asks the girl a question. If I remember correctly, the question was something like, "Is there any evidence to suggest that some cultures are more prone to mental health problems?" And the girl answered no. The tutor then asked my significant other the exact same question, and because he'd actually read the research on the topic, he was able to list of several studies that showed that some cultures are in fact more prone to mental health issues. The girl glared at him the entire time he answered the tutor's question. Pretty sure she ended up with a D, while he got an A or B. My coworker sometimes throws out her lunch in the garbage can at my desk instead of her own, because she claims she can't stand the smell of old ketchup that's been sitting out for a couple of hours. I've asked her several times to stop, but she will then just wait until I get up to go to the bathroom and do it, and hide my garbage can under my desk, so she thinks I won't see it. Every time she does it, I wait until she goes to the bathroom, take out the little plastic container that she had ketchup in, and put it away in the back of her bottom desk drawer. There are 6 in there now. The oldest is over a month old. So far, she hasn't noticed the smell. Gonna keep doing it and see how long it takes her to notice. Edit. I'm adding some additional details. I have taught her everything she knows at this job, but she is a fucking moron, and she always tries to get other people to do her work for her. Sometimes, I'm not sure if the stupidity is an act, and she's secretly a genius for getting other people to give her answers, but then she'll say something ridiculously stupid that's non-work related that removes all doubt. Literally, nobody in the office likes her, and a couple of our co-workers know that I'm doing the ketchup thing and fully approve. They were shocked when she threw her lunch away in my garbage the first time. Basically, we all want her to be fired or quit, but it's unlikely. Clarifications: she gets French fries in the work cafeteria, and there's a big ketchup dispenser thing. We get little plastic cups to put the ketchup in. There's lids available, but she doesn't use them. She fills up the cup with way more ketchup than she needs, so there's always leftover. I would say maybe a tablespoon full. I used to deliver pizza for Domino's. It was my last shift, and there was this house that was always rude. I called to ask what the house looked like, and they said, "I gave you the address," and hung up. Never tipped, etc. I got to their house, and they gave me a check for 1 cent less than what the total was. I said, "I am going to need the extra penny." They grumbled off and took their time, hoping I would give up, but I just sat there holding the pizza. They finally came back all pissed off and gave me the penny. Note that they had no intention of tipping. They gave me the penny, and I chucked it out into the street and left. They saw me do it. It was satisfying. This dude in my accounting class in high school used to ask me for answers to questions, only to spout them to the teacher, like he'd worked them out, thereby looking like a genius and getting credit for my work. One day our teacher comes into class with a pierced tongue and is talking sort of funny. Terry, as his name is, proceeds to use it as a point of conversation. "Hey miss, do you have any other piercings, like your ear?" "No," she responds, thinking he's making an inane conversation. "Would you get your nose pierced?" He keeps asking, just to prolong the time before class starts. As usual, he leans over asking for help. What are some other good things to ask her? I was annoyed that he always asked for my help to benefit him, so I thought I'd have some fun. Labia. Ask if she's going to get her labia pierced. The fuck is a labia? He says. "Oh, sorry. It means eyebrow. That's like the piercing name for it." "Like how a tragus is that nose piercing, yeah." "Oh cool. Hey miss, are you going to get your labia pierced next?" Every girl, and especially the teacher, in the class, looked at him like he was trash, and he tried blaming me, but I brushed it off gracefully. Edit. For those wondering, I am aware that a tragus piercing is the one in the ear, while the one he thought I was referring to is actually a septum piercing, the one in the nose. Thankfully, he didn't know this, so I used it to my advantage. Back when I was studying engineering, it occurred to me to try and find an app on my iPhone for those Panasonic projectors in lecture rooms. So I get the app, and it just lets me connect to the one in the class without a password or anything. I have a friend who is one of those perpetual pranksters. You can't leave your PC or bag or food, drink unattended when he's around. So I beam a picture of him onto the projector, so the lecturer is just talking away, and this goofy picture of my mate is on the screen. The lecturer doesn't realize yet. People in the lecture start waking up and giggling a bit. Now I use the pen function and draw a penis on the picture too. Mate was red in the face and trying to hide. Lecturer finally noticed and says, "Michael, why is there a picture of you on the screen?" Finally, for a fleeting moment, I actually wrecked that fucker. A girl on my softball team bullied me and spread rumors about me to the team and coaches. We were competing for the same position. She was in my geometry class and tried to buddy up with me, because I was good at geometry, and she wasn't. So for a while, I let her copy my homework. Then one day I gave her all the wrong answers and turned in the right answers for myself. My mom had a fantastic one. She was a language teacher at my high school, and years after I had graduated, she called me kind of upset, because a group of guys was trying to make her look dumb. The class was supposed to write one of those team dialogues in Spanish, and had a week or so to prepare it, then had to perform it in front of the class. When she called for them to do theirs, they said, "But we already did ours. We're not doing it again." She said, "You definitely didn't do it. I don't have any record of it here, and I would remember it if you had." They refused to do it, insisting they already performed it, and that it was her fault she didn't take notes, scores down. She was feeling puzzled and questioning herself when one of the good kids came and said, "They didn't do it. They were bragging about making you look stupid and threatened the whole class if they told you anything. But please don't tell them I told you this. I don't want any problems with them." These were those stereotypical dumb jock types who everyone was scared of for whatever reason. My mom was really into yoga at the time and got a great idea while meditating. She went in the next day and said, "Boys, I owe you an apology. I found my notes on your presentation and I do remember it. I don't know how I forgot." She went on to describe all the grammatical mistakes they made, that their dialogue hadn't been as long as required, that they didn't include the necessary vocabulary, etc. All made up. She failed them all on the project, and they couldn't do a thing about it without admitting they'd made it all up. My little brother and his girlfriend came to stay at my house for the weekend, and the girlfriend was super self-centered and obnoxious. When they left, she forgot her clothes and toiletries because she left them sprawled all over my bathroom. About a week later, she and my brother moved into the apartment together. After he paid for the moving truck, deposit, and utilities, she cheated on him with her ex and kicked him out of the apartment. This left him broke, homeless, and heartbroken. In the days after the breakup, she kept calling and emailing him several times per day, demanding that he ask me to ship her clothes and toiletries back to her. I mean, it's really important. It's my North Face. My brother called and pleaded with me to ship them to her, so she would stop having a reason to contact him. Being the loving sister that I am, I gathered up the really important North Face sweatshirt, shorts, underwear, shampoo, conditioner, soap and razor, folded everything nicely. I then wrote a nice note apologizing for taking so long to mail them to her, and letting her know that I hope all is well. The note was written in permanent marker, and the paper happened to be resting on the really important North Face when I wrote it. Unfortunately, the ink bled straight through the paper and onto the shirt. Also, unfortunately, the shampoo, soap, and conditioner caps were not tightly secured on their bottles, and the contents leaked out all over the clothes, further spreading the ink. The most unfortunate result, though, was that her razor didn't have any sort of protective cap or container and left little slashes all over the front of the really important North Face. She received the package, and my brother never heard from her again.